You keep saying tomorrow like it's guaranteed. You keep blaming the clock, the past, the people, but results don't care about your reasons. Life is watching, and it's done negotiating. This is the moment where excuses die, not because life got easier, but because you finally got honest. Honest about the time you waste. Honest about the effort you fake. Honest about the potential you keep burying under comfort. Pressure doesn't break you, avoidance does. Discipline isn't punishment, it's respect for the life you said you wanted. You don't need more motivation. You need standards. Higher standards for how you show up, how you work when nobody's watching, how you respond when it hurts. This isn't about hype. This is about ownership, because results don't come from what you say. They come from what you do consistently, especially when you don't feel like it. You keep calling it a reason, but deep down, you know it's an excuse. You say it quietly so nobody challenges it. You repeat it so often it starts to sound true. But the truth doesn't care how convincing your excuse feels. It only cares about what you produce. Let me be real with you for a moment. Excuses are comfortable. They wrap around your pain like a blanket. They help you sleep at night. They protect you from the sting of accountability. And that's exactly why they're dangerous. Because while excuses make you feel safe, they are slowly stealing your future. Not loudly, not all at once, but piece by piece, day by day, decision by decision. I've seen people with talent buried under excuses. I've seen people with potential suffocated by explanations. They had the dream, they had the vision. But every time life applied pressure, they reached for an excuse instead of discipline. And life kept moving without them. See, excuses don't show up as failure. They show up as almost consistent, almost disciplined, almost successful, and almost will break your heart if you let it live there long enough. You tell yourself, I would have done more if I had more time. But the truth is, you had time. You just gave it away. You tell yourself, I would have pushed harder if I had more support. But the truth is, you don't need support to show up. You need commitment. You tell yourself, I'll start when things calm down, but life never calms down. It only rewards those who move through the chaos. Here's the hard truth most people don't want to hear. Your excuse is not the problem. Your attachment to it is. You've made peace with it. You've normalized it. You've allowed it to explain away why you're still where you are. And as long as you keep doing that, nothing changes. Because excuses don't ask you to grow. They don't demand sacrifice. They don't require transformation. They only ask you to stay the same and call it patience. But growth is violent. Growth challenges the story you've been telling yourself. Growth says, I know it hurts, but do it anyway. Growth says, I know you're tired, but don't quit here. And excuses can't survive in that environment. Let me tell you something powerful. Results don't hate you. Results don't judge you. Results don't hold grudges. Results simply respond to action. Every single time. You don't get results because you're motivated. You get results because you showed up when motivation disappeared. You don't get results because life was fair. You get results because you decided excuses were no longer an option. At some point, you have to stop defending why you didn't do it and start demanding more from yourself, not because you're weak, but because you're capable of more than this version you've settled for. That's the part nobody tells you. Excuses don't come from weakness alone. They come from unused strength, from knowing you could have done more and choosing comfort instead. And listen, this isn't about shame. This is about ownership, because the moment you drop the excuse, you pick up your power. The moment you stop explaining, you start building. The moment you stop justifying, you start transforming. Life will test you. That's guaranteed. There will be pain you didn't ask for. There will be setbacks you didn't deserve. But your response to those moments, that's where excuses try to live. And that's where you have to evict them. You don't need a perfect situation. You don't need permission. You don't need to feel ready. You need a decision, a hard one, a final one. The decision that says, I'm done negotiating with my excuses. The decision that says, I will pay the price now so I don't live with regret later. The decision that says, no matter how hard it gets, I'm not going back to who I was. Because excuses feel good today, but they cost you everything tomorrow. And results demand sacrifice. They demand focus. They demand truth. So ask yourself honestly, not emotionally, honestly, what has your excuse already taken from you? And how much longer are you willing to let it stay? Most people run from pain like it's the enemy. They flinch at discomfort. They retreat the moment it gets hard. But what they don't realize is this: the pain they're avoiding today is the same pain that will haunt them tomorrow, only louder and heavier. Let me say it plain. There are two kinds of pain. There's the pain of discipline, and there's the pain of regret. One weighs ounces, the other weighs tons, and every single day, whether you admit it or not, you're choosing one. Discipline hurts. Waking up when your body wants to stay asleep hurts. Staying focused when distractions are calling your name hurts. Doing the work when nobody's clapping, when nobody's watching, when nobody cares, that hurts. But regret cuts deeper. Regret shows up years later and asks you questions you can't answer. Why didn't you push harder? Why did you quit so early? Why did you choose comfort over purpose? See, discipline is pain with a purpose. It's pain that builds. It's pain that sharpens. It's pain that prepares you for the life you said you wanted. Most people don't fail because they can't handle pain. They fail because they can't handle delayed comfort. They want relief now. They want results fast. They want success without sacrifice, and life doesn't work like that. Let me tell you a truth you might not like. Comfort is expensive. It costs you your edge. It costs you your hunger. It costs you the future version of yourself that needed you to stay uncomfortable just a little longer. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't ask if you're motivated. It doesn't wait for the perfect moment. Discipline shows up when excuses are loud and energy is low and says, do it anyway. That's the separation. That's the line between people who talk about change and people who become it. You say you want more freedom, more peace, more success, but more requires more focus, more sacrifice, more discipline when quitting feels easier. And listen closely, discipline isn't punishment. It's self-respect. It's saying, I love my future enough to challenge my present. It's saying, I won't sabotage tomorrow just to feel good today. Every time you choose discipline, you're training your mind to lead your body. You're telling yourself, I'm in control, not my emotions, not my mood, not my circumstances. That's power. But discipline won't announce itself. It won't feel dramatic. Most days it will feel boring, repetitive, lonely. And that's where most people quit, not because it's hard, but because it's quiet. They don't hear applause. They don't see instant results. So they assume it's not working. But discipline works in silence. It builds strength when nobody's looking. It compounds when nobody's clapping. And one day, the results speak so loud they drown out every excuse you used to make. Let me challenge you with this. Stop asking, how do I avoid the pain? Start asking, which pain am I willing to live with? Because avoiding discipline doesn't remove pain. It delays it. Skipping the work now only makes the work harder later. Choosing comfort today hands regret the microphone tomorrow. And regret doesn't whisper, it screams. Discipline, on the other hand, teaches you something sacred, that you are capable of doing hard things, that you can keep going when it hurts, that you don't need perfect conditions to show up with excellence. That confidence, real confidence, is built through discipline, not affirmations, not talk, action. Repeated, relentless, honest. So when your body says stop, ask your purpose to speak. When your mind looks for an excuse, reminded of the cost. When comfort invites you to stay the same, remember the life waiting on the other side of discipline. This is the moment where you decide, not with words, with action, not once, but daily. Because discipline is choosing pain now, so regret doesn't choose you later. If you're waiting for someone to save you, this message is going to hurt. But it might also set you free, because the truth is simple and unforgiving. Nobody is coming. No perfect mentor, no magical opportunity, no right time rescue that lifts you out of the work you've been avoiding. And once you accept that, everything changes. We grow up believing help will arrive if we struggle long enough, that if we show enough pain, someone will notice, that if we explain our situation clearly, the world will understand and adjust. But life doesn't work on sympathy. Life responds to responsibility. And the moment you stop waiting to be saved is the moment your strength finally shows up. See, waiting feels safe. Waiting feels hopeful. Waiting lets you delay the hard decision. But waiting is just disguised fear. You tell yourself, I just need one break, one call, one connection, one chance. And while you're waiting, time keeps moving. Opportunities pass. Seasons change. And your potential sits untouched, not because you lack talent, but because you lacked ownership. Let me say this with clarity. Help is nice, but it's not required. Support is powerful, but it's not guaranteed. And if your progress depends on someone else showing up, you've already handed away your power. Nobody coming to save you isn't a curse. It's a calling. It means the responsibility is yours fully. It means the excuses lose their hiding place. It means when you win, it's real. And when you fall, you learn. I've seen people stay stuck for years because they kept waiting for permission, waiting for approval, waiting for confidence to magically appear. But confidence isn't found. It's built brick by brick, action by action. When you move without applause, when you work without witnesses. Nobody coming means you get to become who you've been waiting for. That's heavy, that's uncomfortable, but that's freedom. Because once you stop asking, who's going to help me? You start asking, what am I going to do today with what I already have? And that question changes everything. You don't need ideal conditions to start. You don't need to be fully ready. You don't need validation. You need courage, the kind that moves even when fear is loud, the kind that stands up when excuses beg you to sit down, the kind that says, I don't know how it'll work out, but I refuse to stay here. Listen carefully, responsibility is heavy, but regret is heavier. Blaming the system feels good, but it builds nothing. Pointing fingers gives temporary relief, but it steals long-term power. When you take responsibility, you stop being a victim of circumstances and become a student of outcomes. You stop asking why it happened and start asking what it's teaching you. That shift, that mindset separates survivors from leaders. And no, it's not fair. Life isn't fair. Some people start ahead, some people start behind, but fairness has never been the requirement for greatness. Ownership has. The strongest people you admire didn't wait for rescue. They adapted. They learned, they carried the weight when nobody helped lift it. They understood something critical. Waiting to be saved keeps you small, but deciding to stand saves your soul. So stop scanning the crowd for someone to pull you up. Stop waiting on circumstances to change before you do. Stop telling yourself the story that help must come first. You go first. Take the step, do the work, make the call, study when it's hard, train when it hurts, lead when you're scared. And if nobody claps, keep going. If nobody notices, keep going. If nobody believes, keep going. Because the moment you stop waiting for rescue is the moment you activate the version of you that doesn't quit, doesn't hide, doesn't break when it gets lonely. Nobody is coming, and that's exactly why you must. Not someday, not when it's easier. Now, because your future isn't waiting on help, it's waiting on you. Everybody wants a breakthrough, but nobody wants the boredom that comes before it. Everybody wants the moment, but they don't respect the process. They show up loud one day, disappear for 10, then wonder why nothing changes. Let me tell you the truth, most people don't like hearing intensity looks impressive, but consistency changes lives. Anybody can go hard for a week. Anybody can feel motivated after a video, a speech, a setback. Anybody can promise the world when emotions are high. But can you show up when nothing is exciting? Can you work when there's no fire, no hype, no energy? That's where separation happens. See, intensity is emotional, consistency is spiritual. Intensity feeds the ego, it wants to be seen. Consistency feeds the future, it's willing to be ignored. I've watched people burn bright and fade fast. They sprint, then collapse. They announce, then disappear. They confuse movement with progress. Because consistency isn't glamorous, it doesn't trend, it doesn't get applause. Consistency is quiet, it's repetitive. It's doing the same small, disciplined action again and again and again, even when your mind says this isn't enough. But here's what most people miss: consistency compounds. What looks small today becomes unstoppable tomorrow. You don't see the results at first, so you assume it's not working. But roots grow underground before anything breaks the surface. And most people quit because they don't respect invisible progress. Let me ask you something real. How many times have you started strong and stopped early? How many plans died not because they were impossible, but because you were inconsistent? Not lazy, inconsistent. Consistency is what trains your character. It teaches you to keep promises to yourself. It builds trust between who you say you are and how you actually live. And listen closely, inconsistency is not a time problem, it's a priority problem. You're consistent with what matters to you. You don't forget to eat. You don't forget to check your phone. You don't forget what you truly value. So when you say you want more, but your actions don't line up, the truth is simple. You like the idea of the outcome more than the discipline it requires. Consistency says, I don't need to feel like it. Consistency says, I don't need perfect conditions. Consistency says, I will do my part today, even if today feels ordinary. That's maturity. That's growth. That's power. Intensity spikes your emotions. Consistency rewires your identity. When you show up daily, you stop negotiating with excuses. You stop asking, should I do it today? It becomes automatic. It becomes who you are. And that's when results stop being accidental. Let me tell you something important. Big wins are built on small actions done faithfully. Not once, not sometimes, daily. The gym doesn't change your body in a week. Study doesn't change your life in a night. Purpose doesn't unfold in a moment. But every day you show up, something is happening, even if you can't see it yet. That's why consistency requires faith. Faith that the work matters. Faith that discipline will be rewarded. Faith that today's effort is planting seeds for tomorrow's harvest. And yes, some days you'll be tired. Some days you'll be discouraged. Some days you'll feel like quitting. Consistency doesn't mean you're always strong. It means you're always committed. It means you don't disappear when it's inconvenient. It means you don't vanish when progress is slow. It means you don't let one bad day turn into a bad life. Here's the hard truth: intensity makes you feel productive. Consistency makes you productive, and life only rewards what's repeated. So stop waiting for motivation to strike. Stop relying on emotional highs. Stop restarting your journey every Monday. Decide who you're going to be, then show up as that person every day. Not louder, not harder, longer. Because consistency isn't about doing more. It's about doing enough long enough. And when others burn out, fade away, and quit, you'll still be there, still building, still growing. And one day they'll call it luck. But you'll know the truth. It was consistency. You can say you want it all day long, but your habits are telling the truth about you when your mouth is closed. Your dreams sound powerful in conversation, but your routines speak when nobody's listening. And right now, your habits are either building your future or exposing your excuses. Let's get honest. Everybody has dreams. Everybody has visions of more money, more peace, more purpose, more freedom. But not everybody has habits that match what they say they want. And that disconnect, that's where frustration is born. Because dreams don't respond to words, they respond to behavior. You don't become what you think about once in a while. You become what you do every single day. See, habits are quiet. They don't announce themselves. They don't ask for motivation. They just repeat. And whatever you repeat, you become. You can dream about discipline, but if your habit is comfort, comfort will win. You can dream about growth, but if your habit is distraction, distraction will decide your future. You can dream about greatness, but if your habit is inconsistency, inconsistency will collect the reward. That's not punishment, that's alignment. Life doesn't give you what you hope for. It gives you what your habits are preparing you for. Let me slow this down because this is where most people get exposed. When things don't change, they blame motivation. They blame circumstances. They blame timing. But the real issue is routine. You wake up the same way. You think the same thoughts. You react the same way to pressure. You escape the same way when it gets uncomfortable. And then you're shocked when the same results show up. Your habits are loyal. They never miss a day. They don't lie. They don't pretend. They reflect exactly who you've been choosing to be. And here's the hard truth. If your daily habits don't support your dreams are just fantasies. That hurts, but it's freeing. Because once you stop romanticizing the dream, you can start restructuring your day. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. That's why willpower isn't enough. Emotion isn't enough. Inspiration fades. But habits stay. Most people wait to feel ready before they act, but habits don't wait for feelings. They move whether you feel like it or not. That's why your environment matters. That's why your circle matters. That's why what you allow around you eventually becomes what you allow within you. If your habit is scrolling, you'll stay distracted. If your habit is complaining, you'll stay bitter. If your habit is avoiding discomfort, you'll stay average. But if your habit is showing up, even tired, you'll grow. If your habit is learning, even slowly, you'll sharpen. If your habit is discipline, even when it hurts, you'll change. Let me tell you something powerful. You don't change your life by changing your dream. You change your life by changing what you do before 9 a.m., by changing what you do when nobody's watching, by changing what you do when quitting would be easier. Big change doesn't start with big moves. It starts with small habits done with integrity. 1 page a day, 1 workout at a time, 1 focused hour, 1 disciplined choice. Repeated. That's how confidence is built, not by talking about who you're becoming, but by proving it to yourself daily. And yes, breaking old habits is uncomfortable, because habits don't want to die quietly. They fight back, they whisper excuses, they remind you how easy it used to be. But listen carefully, discomfort is the sound of rewiring. It means something old is losing control. Every time you choose the habit that aligns with your dream, you're voting for your future. Every time you avoid it, you're reinforcing your past. No neutral choices, only direction. So stop asking, why isn't my dream working? Ask, what habit is working against it? Stop saying you want change. Start building a routine that forces it. Because at the end of the day, nobody sees your dreams. They see your results. And your results, they will always be the echo of your habits. So choose wisely, choose daily, choose even when it's hard. Because long after motivation fades, your habits will still be speaking. Make sure they're saying something worth hearing. Results don't respond to words. They don't care how bad you want it. They don't flinch at your explanations. Results respond to one thing: respect. And respect isn't something you say, it's something you show. See, a lot of people talk like they want results, but they move like they don't respect them. They show up late, they cut corners, they negotiate effort, they treat discipline like an option instead of a requirement, and then they're shocked when nothing changes. Let me be clear with you: results are loyal. They only show up where they're honored. You can't play with the process and expect the outcome. You can't cheat the work and demand the reward. You can't give excuses and expect excellence to answer. Results are not emotional. They are exact. They don't respond to potential. They don't respond to intention. They respond to execution, repeated, focused, and honest. Here's where most people get it twisted. They think results are something you chase. They think if they run fast enough, talk loud enough, dream big enough, success will catch up. But results don't chase energy. They follow structure. They follow standards. If you don't have standards for your time, your work, your preparation, your mindset, results won't respect you, because results only visit environments where discipline lives. Let me tell you something: hard excuses are disrespectful, not to other people, to your future. Every time you explain instead of execute, you're telling life, I'm not serious yet. Every time you justify instead of improve, you're saying, I don't value the outcome enough to change. And life listens. You might fool people with excuses. You might get sympathy. You might even get understanding. But results don't sympathize. They ask one question every day: what did you do? Not what did you plan? Not what did you intend? Not what happened to you? What did you do? And when you start answering that question honestly, your life begins to shift. Respecting results means you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop lowering the standard on hard days. You stop treating discipline like something you'll return to when life gets easier. Because life doesn't get easier, you get stronger. Respecting results means you show up on time even when nobody's watching. You prepare when you could have coasted. You finish when quitting would have been justified. That's respect. And listen, results can feel it. They feel when you're locked in. They feel when you're consistent. They feel when you're no longer entertaining excuses. That's when doors start opening that never moved before. That's when progress accelerates. That's when momentum finds you. Not because you asked for it, but because you earned it. Let me slow this down. Results are attracted to sacrifice. When you give up comfort, results lean closer. When you give up excuses, results step forward. When you give up shortcuts, results stay. But when you disrespect the process, when you rush, complain, cut corners, results pull back, not to punish you, to protect their stand. Because results don't belong to everyone. They belong to the committed. And here's the part most people miss: results don't need perfection. They need honesty. They need you to show up as you are, tired, scared, uncertain, and still do the work. They need effort without applause. They need consistency without guarantees. That's respect. When you respect results, you stop asking for motivation and start building discipline. You stop waiting for confidence and start earning it. You stop explaining your situation and start improving your position. And slowly, quietly, things begin to change. Your habits tighten up. Your focus sharpens. Your excuses lose their voice because you've decided, I'm done playing with my potential. Let me tell you something powerful: results are not far away. They're just selective. They're watching how you treat your time, how you treat your word, how you treat the small tasks nobody celebrates. And when they see respect, real respect, they respond. So stop asking life for results you haven't respected yet. Stop demanding outcomes you haven't prepared for. Stop praying for doors you're not disciplined enough to walk through. Raise your standard, honor the process, respect the work, because the moment you stop offering excuses, the moment you start moving with intention, the moment you treat results like something sacred, they will meet you there every time.